Welcome and hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you're having a great start to your week. Today, we're going to talk about why guitarists misunderstand how the modes work and then how to fix that. There seems to be a lot of confusion about modes and the fingerings and how they work, and people get confused on it. They learn bits and pieces of it, but they still aren't quite sure about it. So we're going to talk about how modes work in your guitar playing, and because we know it's a big mystery for a lot of people, and I'm going to sit down with the music theory for guitar expert, Dr. Tommaso Zillio. In fact, let's bring him in right now. Welcome, Dr. Zillio.
Hello, Tomas. Hello, Internet. So nice to see you all.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so doctor, we want to talk about, I'm sure you heard my little intro there, why so many people misunderstand the modes or find them confusing, or in some cases they may just throw their hands up and avoid them altogether because they're confused or they get overwhelmed. And I want to help to break that big mystery down, and you're the man to do it. So we get into, what we can do to help clarify things for people. And before we start, for everyone watching us live, let us know who your name and where you're from. Okay, let us know. And if you have a question along the way about today's topic, not about like your picking hand, but about today's topic, throw them into the chat and we will answer them as we go. So feel free to do that. So, doctor, why do you suppose, let's maybe start with this. Why do so many guitar players seem to misunderstand what the modes are, how they work, what it is, how you use it? Where does this misunderstanding come from?
Well, there are two reasons why guitar players misunderstand modes. One reason is technical, and one reason is motivational. Okay. And it's important to understand both. As we're going to see, a theme in understanding the modes is that there are always two things to understand. And if you understand only one, you don't get it. So in this case, let me start because it's very brief with the motivational, so I can build it in 3 sentences, and then we go on the technical stuff. Motivational thing is this. You go on the YouTube, you go on the internet, which you shouldn't, to search about music theory and mode and advice. Don't do that. I mean, I know we are on YouTube right now, but hey. And then they tell you modes are useless, modes are hard, you don't use modes, you don't, and nobody cares about modes, and you don't need music theory. Music theory makes you worse. No, do you really want to sit down and actually spend a few minutes understanding the modes? Yeah. Okay, so that's the first problem, is that you think that modes are PhD level, university, high academic stuff, when in reality it's very simple stuff that a lot of guitar players have used in time. Okay. Eric Clapton uses modes, Santana uses modes, Jimmy Page uses modes. Okay. It's simple stuff. Okay. And it's not complex. So that's the first thing, the motivational thing. Stop listening to all those people. Okay. If they start telling you it's too hard, it's useless, etc. No. Now the technical thing. The technical thing is that you need to understand two technical things to understand the modes. One of them is that modes, I'm going to explain them in a second, but just as a short 30,000 feet view, okay, that's a short thing. Then later we go into details. The first thing you need to understand is that you can take one scale, okay, imagine the scale with the notes in a circle, okay, and then you can decide any of those notes as your root. The notes are the same. The root of the scale is different. And the root of the scale is not just a label we give it. The root of the scale is something that your brain perceives. We need to do something in the music to make your brain perceive that note as the root. And once your brain perceives that note as the root, the whole sound of the same note changes. It's kind of an auditive illusion. Okay. Again, gonna explain more in detail in a second. And you need to understand the modes both as relative and parallel. Okay, which again, for you and I and all the technical people out there, it's really easy because we know what those words means. And indeed, it is really easy, okay, but it takes a few minutes to explain what relative and parallel mean. Okay, you need to have those two things in mind pretty much at the same time, because if you understand only one, it doesn't stand. You need two legs to stand on. Okay, now lots of other things in music theory, in music, you need to understand only one thing. If you want to play the pentatonic, you get this shape, play it on this chord, boom, you can play it. For the modes, you need to have two things in mind at the same time. It's not hard. Those things are really simple. And then later, when you get used to them, you don't have to keep all this in mind. You can totally do it by ear or by feeling. It just becomes natural. But when you understand them, two pieces of information in mind at the same time. Okay? Then, okay, this is the basics. Then, in practice, when you go on YouTube, people make a lot of confusion on all this stuff because some of them understand them, some of them don't understand them. Some people confuse modes with scale pattern. There is a big confusion. Are modes scales or they're not scales and all this kind of thing. And the debate is endless and useless. Okay. And a number of other things. So, and people like to use the big names. No, like I'm using the Lydian dominant scale, and I'm using the whatever. Okay. And without sometimes even understanding what they're doing. So that's the thing. Modes get a bad name, but they're very easy. And everybody can play. So, how about we start explaining some of this stuff? Huh? So, let's say, first of all, let's see if the whiteboard works today. The whiteboard works today. Okay, it's not a given. Okay, so let's say we are in A major. Okay, in the A major scale has notes A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. It's not hard. It's easy to play. Okay. If I come back in here and I play an A major chord and then I'm playing this scale. This is just a bunch of notes. Okay. This is just a bunch of notes. But since I played the A chord at the beginning, your brain did something without even notifying you. It's completely transparent to you. Your brain took this note as the main note, the reference note. We call it the tonic note or the root note in music theory. Okay. With some people saying that you have to call it tonic, some people say that you have to call it root, some people say that you can call it either way. It's the main note. Okay. That's what I like. Okay. It's the main note. Your brain did not tell you that. Your brain does this automatically every single time. Just like when you look at an image, your brain decides what direction is up and down without telling you. And if you turn around the picture, you can tell. Your brain decides which one is the root without telling you. Okay. And since it doesn't tell you, you're not conscious of that. And that's why modes are confused, as we're going to see in a moment. Okay. So your brain gave you this note as the root. Now, whenever you're hearing those other notes, you're not hearing the note and that's it. When I'm playing this E, you're not hearing the E, you're hearing the E compared to the A. So in fact, you're hearing the interval between this note and this note, or the degree, which is a similar thing. Okay. Some people call it the interval, some people call it the degree. Degree will be more correct. But anyway, you're hearing the distance between those two. You're not hearing this. Again, your brain doesn't tell you that. Okay. So that's what is happening right now. The idea of the modes is that somehow I make your brain pick another note as the reference note. This is a problem though, because since I just played this, now you have the A note in mind as the reference note. And it's kind of hard to dislodge it. Okay? So people tell you just play the scale, attention here, let's just play the scale starting from another note. And that will do exactly nothing. When they say starting from another note, you know you get a person who don't understand the modes, because starting got nothing to do with it. If I play this note, this, and start from the B note, it still sounds like A major. The sound didn't change. It still sounds like a happy scale, right? So it sounds like a major scale. Nothing changed because I didn't dislodge that note from your brain. It's still A, you're still hearing A, because just starting from a note doesn't do much. Okay? So if I want you to understand this B, for instance, as the main note, or any other of those notes, I have to do something more radical. Okay? If I make you understand this B note as the main note, then what happens is that you will hear B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, sharp, G sharp, A, and then you will hear this as your main note. And again, I'll have to dislodge this, this A and put the B into your brain. Now, what if you notice what I did, I'm just shifting all the notes one space to the left. Okay. So this scale, if this is the tonic, is the A major scale. And this scale will be called the B Dorian scale. Now, attention, because like a magician, I am going to uh, take something out of my hat and I shift all the, all the ground around. So what I'm gonna do is this. Rather than dislodging this note and putting the B, which is pretty hard to do, I'm gonna do it later, but I want to do something simpler right now for your ear, harder in theory, simpler for your ear. I'm thinking, what if instead, so that's A major, what if instead than playing B Dorian, I'm playing A Dorian. What would be A Dorian? Would be a scale starting from A, and now the root note is the same, so I don't have to dislodge it. But all the intervals are the one of the Dorian scale. So B to C sharp, it's a full step. So I do the same here. A to B is a full step. So I'm just not taking the notes, but taking the distance between those notes and rewriting the scale. Rather than starting from B, I'm starting from A. So B to C sharp is a full step, like A to B. B to D is a minor third, so I'll have a natural C, not a C sharp, as you notice. B to E is a perfect fourth, and A to D. B to F sharp is a perfect fifth, like A to E, so no change here. B to G sharp is a major sixth, so like F sharp, so no change here. And B to A, it's a minor seven, and the A to G would be a minor seven. So now this scale and this scale have the same intervals. The notes have the same distance. The difference is that this starts from B, this starts from A. This scale, the A major, and this scale, the A Dorian, have the same tonic, the same root, but they have different notes. And in fact, they have two notes of difference. That's the difference, you see? Let me use something different. They have this note here that is different, and they have this note here that is different, respect to the major scale. Okay? So now I can keep this A into your mind. That's an A. But I can play those notes instead. Okay? And again, if I did and that will be A Dorian compared to A major. You can hear a difference because I take both scale from the same root. Okay? Make sense so far? I hope. You have questions?
Just to clarify, when you say you take the same scale where the root changes, is that earlier you mentioned parallel and relative.
Yes,
Maybe
that's
it
what
would
I
be
was
helpful.
going to.
Perfect. If you want to explain that to the audience.
Yes. I was trying to not put names immediately, but now
Okay.
I'm going to put names so we understand each other. Okay? So let's go back to the board. Between this scale, A major, and this scale, B Dorian, we have the same notes because they are A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. But the root is different. We say that those two scales are relative to each other, or that they are modes to each other. Okay, they are two different scales, but they have the same note. The only difference is the root. They are relative to each other, or they are modes to each other. It's the same thing to say one thing or the other. Instead, if we take A major and A Dorian, those two scales have the same root, A, but they have different notes. We say that those scales are parallel to each other. Parallel means that they have the same root. Now you can ask me, so what's between B Dorian and A Dorian? Well, those two scales are not relative, are not parallel, but they are the same scale in the sense that they have the same intervallic makeup. They have the same distances. A to B to C has the same B to C sharp has the same distance as A to B. B to D has the same distance as A to C. So they are the same scale. They're both Dorian scales. So now we have three different scales that are related in different ways. Those two, same notes, different root, are relative. These and these, same root, different notes, are parallel. These and these, different notes, different root, but same intervals, they are what we say the same scale. They're both the Dorian scale. That's how it works. Now, I'm going to completely reset your perception of the root. It's a while I don't play now, so some of you already forgot. And I'm going to play something dissonant on my guitar. And now you definitely don't remember the original root. And I'm going to play a B minor chord, B minor because I'm taking the notes B, D, F sharp, which is the tonic chord of this scale here. And that's a B minor chord. B minor 7 technically, but I'm just staying here for a moment. And now I'm playing the notes of the B Dorian scale. If I'm playing here, I have a B, I'm going down this time. B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E, D, C sharp, D. Okay. Now you're hearing B Dorian. You're hearing B Dorian because I made sure that now B is the root and you're perceived that. Okay? So here's the problem. If I play A major and immediately after I play B Dorian, since the perception of the tonic root is sticky and stuck to your brain, it's now hard for you to hear B Dorian because you're hearing the A as a tonic chord, and so you're still hearing A major. But if I play something else in the meantime and make you forget the original root, and then I start with a B minor chord, and then I play the same notes on top, now it sounds like B Dorian. And indeed, if you think about it, this scale doesn't really sound happy. Okay? Doesn't really sound, I mean, stupid happy like the major scale, okay? That's the sound of Dorian. Okay? Now, if I make you forget again, and then I play something in A major, I play some chords in A major, like A, D, E, A, and I insist a little bit, and now I play again the A major scale. Now it sounds happy again. Right? And again, those are the same notes as before. The only thing that changes is the perception of the root.
I think where maybe some people get confused is they think about the scale fingering that they're playing, and they think, well, okay, I'm playing from B to B in this example, so therefore I'm in B Dorian. I'm in the B Dorian mode. I'm using B Dorian. But when the chords establish A as the root, you can play the B Dorian all day long. You're never in B Dorian as long as the A establishes and holds A as the root. And you've essentially explained that. Um, but maybe if you want to talk a little bit about that,
Yeah.
why do people get this confused? Why are they confused? They
Well,
think they're in one mode and they're not in that mode.
the confusion is technically our fault, and the fault of guitar teachers, because we use the same words for two different things. Because we talk about the Ionian, Dorian, and Phrygian mode, and we talk about the Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, etc. pattern. And those are two different things, and they have very little to do with each other. Okay, if I'm playing these, volume that's an A Ionian pattern. Okay, or A major pattern. I mean, I can play the other one. I mean, if you like if you like the curse cage system, sure, use that. Use that. I mean, I don't like it. I like it in the curse cage system, but again, same deal. It's a pattern. This is a pattern. Doesn't have a real sound. You're thinking it as a sound because you're hitting the first note, and you're just heard this A major chord. So you're thinking, yeah, that's a major. But if I do something clever with the chords, now all these, it doesn't sound happy anymore. Now this sounds minor because I changed the chord under. I place a chord progression that is typical of F sharp minor, and now you're hitting F sharp as the root. And the same pattern, which is the Ionian pattern, doesn't sound, or major pattern, doesn't sound major anymore. Again, it's our fault because we should use different names for the pattern. We should just say the Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian mode, and pattern number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 instead. So there will be no confusion. You can play any pattern over any mode. What makes the sound of the mode, it's the chord progression, not the pattern you use to solo over that. You have to pick the right pattern with the pattern that contains the right note. But all the patterns, whether you use 5 or 7, will sound exactly the same because they contain the same notes. And what decide the root, it's not what you play as a solo player. It's what the rhythm player is playing as chord progression. You establish the mode in the chord progression or in the backing track. The lead player doesn't lead. Lead player actually follows, okay, and just plays the correct notes. But you, as the lead player, have no power to change the mode. It doesn't matter what you play.
That's a great way to say it. The lead player follows. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. There is a comment here before we move on. There's a comment here that maybe we'd like to address here.
Mhm.
I first need to understand my fretboard before trying modes. And I don't know if what is meant here is I first need to memorize where all the notes are on the guitar.
Exactly.
That might be what is meant by this question. But do you have anything you want to say to that?
Well, okay, that's a definite maybe, as I say. Okay, because it depends what you mean to understand the fretboard. And listen, every one of us is still trying to understand the fretboard. We are just at different level, okay? But every one of us is still trying to understand the fretboard because the more you know, the more there is to discover, the more things you can do, the more discover hidden depths in the fretboard. So if you are thinking that you need to find your way around, maybe learn a few notes, maybe learn a few patterns, yeah, I'm not saying no. You need to do that, okay? But you can do that while you understand the modes. You don't have to have the fretboard perfectly memorized. You don't have to know all the notes, or you don't have to know all the patterns. You don't even have to feel comfortable, okay? Because that's the big trap, actually. As I'm gonna comment in a moment. You don't have to feel comfortable. You can start studying the modes before that. In fact, you should, okay? Because
Exactly. That's exactly my thought. You should.
you should. If you wait until you're comfortable, you're not going to do anything. Okay.
Well, it's actually even worse than that, because if you when you advance your knowledge or skill in one particular area, and you think, I need to do this first before I can do something else, what happens is, if you do that first, it's going to make it a little harder to master whatever that thing is, because you're missing the pieces that connect to it or around it. But worse than that, you're going to feel really bad. Okay. It's like the guy who has some good speed on the guitar.
Lou? Lou? I don't know if you can hear me. I cannot hear you anymore. Lou? Lou, Lou? Okay, so what I see is that probably Thomas was cut out from the um, live stream. I have no idea what's happening, but apparently I'm still live, so apparently you still can hear me. Not a problem. We can keep going. So the thing is this: is that what I think Thomas was saying is that um, I said that if you wait to be comfortable, you're never going to do anything. It's worse than that. If you wait to be comfortable, you're not going to learn it, and you're never going to be comfortable. Okay, because learning these things require that sometimes you do stuff that you don't know before. You need to play some of the patterns, maybe memorize them. You need to learn a little bit of the fretboard. You need to take some risk in a sense. And like, okay, I don't really know what the Ionian mode is or what the Lydian mode is. I'm just trying these pattern. You need to get comfortable in occasionally not knowing what you're doing, and then even if you don't know what you're doing, just do it and hear the sound. Okay, learning theory doesn't mean that at every single step of the way everything is perfectly clear. Occasionally, we tell you, any teacher will tell you, try this and hear the sound. Okay, so you, that's the point. Don't wait to be comfortable. So for Certias, nice name by the way, Certias. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but for Certias, if you wait to be comfortable and to understand your fretboard, which again, it could be what this question is asking, don't. Okay, go straight for the modes. Okay. Now you do need a couple of reference points, but again, you can learn them while you learn the modes. Indeed, learning, say, the notes or the patterns and the modes goes together. And even if you don't know what you're doing and you're just playing a few patterns and so your fingers are memorizing them, that helps later when you learn to put them together. Okay? So that's the idea. I see other questions. I don't know if I can put them on. I probably cannot put them on the on screen, but I'm gonna start answering those two. Thomas is still frozen, but we can keep going. Okay. Now, Robert is asking, the solo player can change the mode. I disagree. Great. If someone is just bumping a C major chord, I can throw a B flat in there, play mixo, and I change the mode. Well, yes. Yes, if they play one chord, then you have the choice to play different modes that fit that single chord. But your power of changing the mode, and I mean, let me explain that. If I play a C major chord, and I play only a C major chord, there are three modes of the major scale that fit that. I can play C major, I can play C mixolydian, and I can play a C Lydian. If you struggle to hear those, play them descending and play them with the rhythm of Joy to the World. The major scale going down is Joy to the World. The mixolydian scale going down with the same rhythm will sound this way. you can hear the difference. And the Lydian scale going down, it's this. Okay, so you can hear the difference. So if I play only the C major chord, yes, I can change mode, but your power of changing mode is conditional to what the rhythm player is doing. If in a moment the rhythm player decides to play more chords, you're done for. Okay, you are at the mercy of the rhythm player. So if the rhythm player, in their generosity, play only one chord, and so they give you freedom, yes, you can change the mode in this specific case. If the rhythm player decides instead to not do that, then you cannot change the mode because the rhythm player put too many notes and fixed the mode. Okay? Thomas, I'm answering to Robert Geiger question right now. I just read it, even if it's not on screen.
Great. I cannot see his chat since I was disconnected, but go ahead whenever you're done. Great.
Okay. So that's the idea. So you change the mode as a lead player only if the rhythm player affords you enough freedom to do that. So if they play one chord or two chords, if they start playing more chords than that, or even just two chords with the right chord, you can't. You can't anymore because now you're fixed. Okay. So again, conditional. Okay. So, but yeah, formally correctly, yes, Robert. In that specific case, you got me. Okay. Very good. So, but and Thomas, I kept talking about also the confidence and the thing, and that if they never start playing, even if they don't feel confident.
Yes. Are you referring back to this question here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I already answered.
Perfect.
Okay.
I answered the question too for like 10 minutes all by myself, but
I'm so sorry.
just in case I was live. I didn't know if I was live or not. But
Yeah.
I had a nice conversation to my screen.
Yeah, hey. Hopefully it was recorded. Okay. Anyway, so here we are. Okay, and Robert suggested that what I say in answers makes question to makes sense to his question. So
Perfect.
yes,
Perfect.
we are good. Okay, fantastic. So that's how modes work, in short. Okay. Now, how do you learn modes? Okay, and you can start from many different places. You can learn the pattern first. You can learn the theory first. You can learn note by note first. So you can learn your fretboard too. And my recommendation is pretty much start from everywhere. Okay, so get some patterns down. Okay, the patterns are typically the patterns I like are 3 notes per string. I know they look stretchy, but the stretch is not as hard if you put the thumb opposite the middle finger and then stretch the index back. Okay, so those are not particularly hard. Okay, and they're easier to learn. You have 7 of them, and they all pretty much look the same, as you're gonna see. And there are some tricks to learn all of them because after the large shape, you always have this shape here, and after this shape here, you always have this shape here. Okay, and so there are specific succession order between those things, and there are other tricks to learn all of them and then to connect them, which I do teach, and Thomas teaches them too. Okay, but honestly, or you can sit down and figure them out. Up to you. If I could go back, I figured them out. But if I could go back, I would choose somebody to teach them to me because it would save me an year and a half.
Yeah.
Of
I figured them out too, and it took a long time, and it was unnecessary trial and error. I wish that I had learned the way that we teach it now. Would have saved half a year probably or more.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just. I mean, on one side, you have the satisfaction of figuring them out on your own. On the other side, you gain ears. You know what, guys? I would have liked to get the ears now, not the satisfaction. So anyway, so you can figure those out. You can learn the theory at the same time while you learn the pattern. Okay, you practice the pattern a few minutes a day until you learn them, and then a few minutes a day you check the theory and see how those scales work. And then you learn what modes fit over what chord. And again, that's something you learn. It's not hard. Okay, it can be explained. There's no mystery. Okay, everything can be explained properly. There's no mystery. So you learn those little pieces and then you put them together, and then everything is easy and it sounds good. The problem is that there are a few of those things to understand. Okay, and until you understand all those little skills, and again, not that many, but you understand those little skills like playing the pattern, putting the pattern down on the fretboard, understanding what chords go with what modes, and well, that's pretty much it actually. Okay, if you understand those things, the modes don't work for you. Okay, but that's what discourages people from learning them. It's not like just play this pattern on, just play the pentatonic on this fret, and you're done with it. It requires a little bit extra knowledge. Okay, that's the problem. But you learn it. They're easy. They sound good. Okay. Tommaso, I see with you with the guitar, which means you're about to play something.
Well, no, what I was going to say is maybe I get this question often, and maybe you've seen it too. I'm sure you have, where a student will say, "Okay, I've learned my modes, my fingerings. I got the Ionian finger, major scale fingering here, and the Dorian one here, and the Phrygian. I know my scale patterns now." But then the assumption that some people make is they think that they need to change which fingering that they're using when the chords change. So if we were in the key of A, they think that for the A chord, they need to be here. And then when the chord changes to D, they need to move up to D. I'm laughing because it's a cute little problem. That I'm not sure how people get this in their mind. They think, oh, I've got to go to the mode that starts on D. Well, that's the Lydian fingering because now I'm in Lydian, right?
How they get that into their mind. I know exactly how they get that into their mind. Okay.
Tell us.
It's because some jazz players like to explain things this way. They're like, your chord progression, the chord progression is, I don't know, A, D, E, A. That's our standard 1-4-5 chord progression. It's the most basic chord progression in A major. The way to solo over this is to play the major scale all over it. And later, target the chord notes. So when you play on A, just try to stop or follow the notes of the chord. And again, that's not a rule, it's a suggestion. And you can do a number of different things in there. But basically, you can play the A major scale over those 3 chords. Not a problem. But some jazz players like to complicate their life, and they will tell you, you play A major over A, you play D Lydian over D. D Lydian is relative to A major, which, like we said before, means that they have the same notes and a different root. But the different root is because there is a different chord playing, and you, the lead player, need to do nothing. You don't have to do anything. Then they say play E mixolydian on E, and again, E mixolydian is relative to the other 2. It has exactly the exact same notes. And so first that's just a way to complicate the thing. Okay, this is simple. This is simple as apple pie. Okay, and you need to complicate that. Okay, you are still playing the A major scale, and then since people confuse modes with patterns, they're like, so I need to play the A major pattern over A. I need to play the D Lydian pattern over D. If you think this way, you don't go anywhere. It's more complex because you need to switch mentally all the patterns, and you're not sounding better. If anything, you sound worse.
It sounds worse. Yeah,
absolutely worse. I mean, it's other than it sounds worse. Why are you doing it? Okay, don't. Just play the major scale. What instead you should learn, which again is something we do later once you know the scale, is to start understanding how to target the chord notes and how to target. If you want to sound in the chord progression, you target the chord note. If you want to sound dramatic and slightly out the chord progression, you target the dissonance over that chord. And then it's an artistic choice. Okay. I just gave a webinar in which I explained that chord tone soloing is not a rule. Okay. It's an exercise that you do to understand how those things sound. But then in practice, you can play any note you want over those chords. And sometimes you don't want to hit the note of the chord, because if you always hit the note of the chord, it sounds boring because it's always consonant. Anyway, but again, from the point of view of modes only, you are playing A major over the whole chord progression. There's no point in changing the name because it's the same scale as before. There's the same note as before, and the only thing that changes is the chord. So for you, the lead player, you have zero advantage in thinking that the scale is changing, because the scale is not changing. Now, if the chord progression was going out of key, that would be a completely different. Okay? That would be a completely different. But otherwise,
Yeah, very good. So just to kind of put a little finer point on it, when if you're playing, you're soloing, you're playing in a key, you're doing your thing, and the chords change, you can stay in the scale position you started in, or any other one that's in the key that you started in. You don't have to change from one fingering to another as the chords change. You can do that. It won't typically sound very smooth when you do that, but you can. Okay, but the point is that you can stay right where you are when the chords change. So I just changed from A to E. I'm just targeting those other notes, but I'm not having to move out of it. So you can play A major in the A major fingering. You can play D Lydian in the A major fingering. You can play E mixed Lydian in the A major fingering. You don't have to change the fingerings. You can, but you don't have to. That's the serious point here.
exactly.
We got a couple of questions here. Question about modes and borrowed chords.
Yeah.
Few of these in A minor, but
any
play it
major
in
is
major.
also A minor, but it can work in the key of C. So it's safe to say you can borrow from A minor modes in C. Okay, now attention. If we've seen before that when you have relative modes like C and A minor, say, but in this case, okay, they have the same notes. Those modes have the same notes. If they have the same notes, they have the same chords. You cannot borrow any chord from, if you're in C major, you cannot borrow any chord from A minor, because all the chords in A minor are the same chords in C major, if you stay on the natural minor scale, of course. What Robert is saying here is he's talking about an E major. That's a chord formally from a harmonic minor, which is not a mode of C major. There's a different note. There's a G sharp. Okay? When you do these, we like to analyze this in a completely different way. We like to say that that's a secondary dominant, which is the fifth of A minor, and it's something you can do for all the chords in the key. That's a completely different topic. Okay. If you want to think of them as borrowing chords from the modes, you can, but it's kind of a convoluted way of doing it. Okay. So I'm telling you this. Practically speaking, can you use that E major in C major? Yes. And it's typically followed by an A minor, typically. Is it coming from the modes? Not really. It's a different thing. It comes from what we call secondary chords. Can you explain one way or the other? If it makes it easier for you, do it, but know that that's kind of a weird, convoluted explanation, that it's not the standard one. But then again, do you have standard? No. I mean, they have to be standard? No. You can do whatever you want. So that's the explanation. Okay.
Let's tackle this one.
Let's tackle this one. Serious question. Am I not made for music if I still don't understand modes no matter what I do? Will it be an intelligence issue? Okay. So first, I didn't give you an IQ test, so I don't know. Okay, so let's get clear. Okay, I don't want to say no, of course not. I don't know. Okay, but when you say I still don't understand most no matter what you do, what did you do? Okay, did you hire me? It's okay. Did you take my course? Did you take Tom's courses? Or in general, did you sit down with a competent teacher? Doesn't have to be us, but did you sit down with a competent teacher, took lesson from this teacher for a long enough time, because it takes some time to learn the modes, and spend time studying them? Because, I mean, and the answer can be yes. If you did it, good. Then we have to see if the teacher was actually competent.
That's the question. The competence is the key word there in that sense.
Competence is the key word. They have to be competent in the sense that they know the modes, and they have to be competent in the sense that they can explain the modes, and they have to be competent in a third way so that when you don't understand the first explanation, do they know other explanations or ways to understand what you don't get and clear that? Because there are several layers in the art of teaching. Okay, and some teachers have one and two, but they know one explanation for the modes, and so when you don't get that, they get stuck. Okay, so when you say I did everything, no matter what I do, okay, if you went online and look at YouTube videos, obviously you are not getting it. I mean, it's just clear, very few people get modes from YouTube videos or explanations online, because most of the explanations out there are wrong. Simple as that, or confusing, or rushed, or other thing. To
Same thing
understand the
with
modes,
textbooks. Same issue with textbooks.
yes, yes, you need to go to the expert. That's the thing. Now, you can work with me, you can work with MS, you can work with anybody else that is an expert. Make sure they're an expert. Okay. An expert doesn't mean a famous player, it means somebody who has shown that they can explain the thing. Check the testimonials on their website. Okay. Check what their students can do, not just what they say. Huh? That's the important thing. Everybody can get testimonials like, yeah, he's the best. Got me the best explanation ever. I learned more with him than in the last 3 years with anybody else. Sure. Check what the students can do. If the student can play and can use the modes, you know the teacher is good. That's the proof. Okay. So you don't get it by studying it online. Well, thank you. I didn't get them studying them online. Okay. I had to read a few books and spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. And again, I really wish I would have got a teacher and the teacher would explain me how to do it. Okay. When I learned that when the internet was not as widespread and it was pretty hard to find a teacher and was competent. So there's that. Okay. But I don't think it's a question of intelligence. Okay. Can I sign off that it's not a question of intelligence? Well, no. Okay. But I mean, let's be realistic here. Okay. But I don't think it is. Okay. I think you can understand the modes. After all, you understand other stuff about guitar. Okay. You just need the right explanation and the right exercises until you internalize these, and then you can play it. Okay. And this is true of many things in life. Okay. If you study with the right person, study with the experts who know their stuff and they can explain, you can do things you don't think you're capable of. You need to find the right person. Okay. Um, there is an allegedly Japanese proverb that says, "As 2 years spent finding a teacher are 2 years gained," and it is absolutely true, because the wrong teacher will make you lose 5 years. Okay, so that's the thing. So I know this sounds a lot like a shameless plug. In a sense, it is. Okay, but on the other hand, I'm here and I'm telling you, if you don't want to waste time, find a person that can explain it to you, and a person that knows how to explain it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Tommaso,
Yes.
we're getting an echo, I think. My voice is echoing back. You, I believe, have a free resource that everyone can download and check out for free. Is that right?
Yes, I do. And you thank you. Very good. Let me move the microphone. This is 18 tips to make your pentatonic solo sound professional. Completely free ebook. You can go at this link, download it, no string attached. And once you download it, you can also access the videos of it. So you can see me practicing this thing and explaining to you how it works. Those are 18 tricks that are not licks, incidentally. There are 18 tricks that you can use to create licks. These are the basic building blocks that all famous players that you like use to create their famous licks. Okay, but they are a level below licks. So you don't copy just the lick. You you learn how to create them. If you take this ebook, and again, you just need to go to this link, and in 5 minutes it can be in your inbox. You get this ebook. You learn 2 of those 18 tips. You will change the way you play. guaranteed. I mean, it just practice any two of those 18 tips, you'll see that you start sounding different and start sounding better. Simple as that. Okay, those are the tricks that you wanted to have. Go and get them.
Very good. Excellent. And I also have something that you guys can download for free. Let's see if I can put myself over here so you can see me. This is a brand new resource that I have. It's totally free. It's called How to Install Natural Talent into Your Guitar Playing. So when you think about players that seem to be able to pick up things fairly easily, and maybe for you, as it was for me, I did not pick up things easily. I did not have natural talent when I started playing guitar. Everything was very difficult. Everything was a struggle. I was slow at everything. It took me a while to get things. My technique was, everything was hard. I had to fight for every little improvement that I made. So what I discovered later, what I'm going to share with you in this free resource, is what natural talent really actually is. It's not something that you're either born with or you're not. That's completely false. Okay. So I'm going to share also with you the hidden but really obvious thing that you've probably been doing for years that's been keeping you stuck. I see this over and over and over again. And I'm going to show you a very different than what you're used to, very different, an effective way to practice guitar to install natural talent into your brain and into your hands. It's different than the practicing that you've been doing. It's different than what you have seen before. I guarantee you it's different. So check it out. How to install natural talent into your guitar playing. It's totally free. You can check it out at the link that you see. All right, let's bring the doctor back in. Very good, doctor. Thank you for all of the wise words that you've shared, the explanations, all the help that everyone has here that you've given to everybody. And thank you to everyone who was here with us, hanging out here today. Hope that you learned a lot. You can, of course, check out the recording if you like. This should be uploaded on YouTube and Facebook after a little while. So, but in the meantime, download those 2 free resources. You'll be glad that you did. Definitely. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.